They say when you marry someone, you also marry their family. But what happens when that family decides you're the enemy? I married James straight out of college. He was kind, ambitious, and the love of my life. But from the moment I met his mother, Margaret, I knew she saw me as competition, not family. Margaret was a woman who thrived on control. She had controlled James his whole life, from the clothes he wore to the career he pursued. And when I entered the picture, she felt her grip slipping. The comments started small. At dinners, she'd smile sweetly and say things like, "Oh, James never liked his steak cooked that way until she came along." Or, "I hope you're not distracting him from his career goals." But as time passed, her digs became sharper. She told relatives I was beneath him. She told neighbours I was lazy living off her son. Behind my back, she even told James he had settled by marrying me. Still, I tried to keep the peace. For years I smiled through the insults, hoping she'd eventually accept me. But then came the day Margaret went too far. James and I had been saving to buy our first home. It was supposed to be our fresh start, away from her constant meddling. But the week we were set to close on the house, James got a devastating call. The bank said our down payment cheque had bounced. Confused, we checked our accounts and discovered that every cent we'd saved had been transferred out. By who? Margaret. She had manipulated James into giving her limited access to his accounts years earlier. Quietly, she drained our savings to teach us a lesson about independence. When confronted, she looked me dead in the eye and said, "He belongs to us. You'll never have him. Not really." That was the moment I stopped trying to win her approval. I decided to win something far greater, her downfall. I didn't scream. I didn't beg. Instead, I gathered evidence. Bank statements, messages, recordings of her manipulative calls. Piece by piece, I built a case. Then I set my plan into motion. First, I booked a meeting with James and a financial advisor. In that office, I laid out everything. The stolen money, the lies, the manipulation. Watching James's face crumble as the truth sank in was painful, but necessary. For the first time, he saw his mother for who she really was. Second, I pressed charges. Margaret thought she was untouchable, but theft is theft. Her lawyer tried to spin it as a misunderstanding, but the paper trail was undeniable. The judge ordered her to repay every dollar, with interest. But I wasn't done. For years, Margaret had presented herself to society as a woman of grace, charity, and respect. So I pulled back the curtain. Using the evidence I had collected, I exposed her manipulations to the very community she craved approval from. Suddenly, her invitations stopped. Friends distanced themselves. Her reputation, the thing she valued more than anything, was ruined. And the sweetest twist? With the money returned and justice served, James and I finally bought our home. On moving day, as we stood on the porch holding the keys, Margaret drove by. She slowed her car, glaring at me through the window, but didn't stop. She couldn't. She had lost her control forever. Today, James and I live peacefully, free from her chains. Our marriage is stronger than ever because we faced the storm together. So here's what I want you to remember. Sometimes enemies don't come from outside. They come from within the family. But betrayal can't stop love built on trust, and revenge doesn't always mean destruction. Sometimes, the greatest revenge is simply freedom. And if you've ever faced someone who tried to ruin your happiness, hit like right now. Share this with anyone who needs to know they're not alone, and subscribe for more stories of betrayal, brutal comebacks, and legendary revenge. Stay fierce. Stay unstoppable.